Clash Royale is a massively popular game that has shaped internet and gaming culture since its release in 2016. Not because of its flashy visuals and slick animations, but because of its unique gameplay mechanics. Crafted so well, they earned Supercell multiple Best Game of the Year awards. Naturally, when a game starts climbing the charts, other developers try to take the formula and make their own version, hoping to dethrone the original. Most of the time, it doesn't work. Some of these ripoffs are surprisingly decent, despite borrowing heavily from Clash Royale, but others are just so painfully bad, they make you question if the developers have ever actually played a video game before. So we'll start with the least bad, the ones that are actually somewhat decent, and then work our way down to the absolute worst. At first glance, when I stumbled across this game, I genuinely thought some indie developer had decided to mash Clash Royale and Transformers together. Copyright, but after looking at its screenshots and then watching its own trailer, which by the way is surprisingly well made, I figured I had to give it a try. And, well, I wasn't disappointed. The first game on our list is actually pretty solid and well put together. It's called Transformers Tactical Arena, and it really caught me off guard, especially as someone who was a Transformers fan as a kid. Yep, the developers literally combined two worlds, Clash Royale's addictive strategy formula and the iconic Transformers universe, creating a unique tactical experience. The studio behind it, Red Games Co., isn't just some no-name group either. They're a legitimate company with their own website, and they've worked with several major franchises before, including Paddington, Lego, Nickelodeon, and of course, Hasbro, the rightful owner of the Transformers. The game's website is just as polished as the game itself, packed with sleek graphics, smooth navigation, and even a flashy animation that plays the moment you enter. It gives you that official big budget vibe right away. The community's pretty alive too, with its own dedicated Reddit, boasting over 1,000 members and a pretty active Discord server. But enough about the branding. You get the point, it's a reputable company. Let's actually talk about the game. Right from the moment you boot it up, you're thrown straight into a tutorial battle, and instead of a king standing on your tower, you're greeted by none other than Optimus Prime himself, complete with on-screen dialogue and his actual voice. And that genuinely makes it feel epic. The arena is fully 3D and completely original, but still fits that Transformers vibe perfectly. Metallic platforms, futuristic structures, and that cinematic sci-fi energy. Gameplay-wise, it sticks to the familiar Clash Royale setup: 2 lanes, 3 towers on each side, and the goal of taking down your opponent's defenses. One cool twist is that the game supports landscape mode in addition to portrait. From what I've seen, that seems to be available mostly on desktop or Mac, but it's a nice touch that gives the battles a slightly different feel. At its core, the objective is exactly the same, but the game does have some original concepts. First is something called Prime Artifacts, basically super abilities so powerful they can wipe out the entire arena with a single click. There are only 5 in the game, and they can be changed to whichever you want. The second is how legendary cards work. Instead of just placing them on the field like normal, you actually can play them in 2 different ways. Tapping on them transforms them into vehicles. The very first legendary you unlock is Optimus Prime, and just as you would expect, tapping him turns him into a truck that barrels straight toward the enemy tower. When he crashes into it, he deals damage and then transforms back into his towering robot form to keep on fighting. Do keep in mind that this increases the cost of the card. It is almost exactly like the new Spirit Empress card in Clash Royale. There are also multiple game modes: ranked, scrimmage, which are ranked battles against ranked opponents, battle AI is essentially training, and battle a friend. And that's pretty much it for gameplay innovations. One thing I do have to praise though is how this game presents its cards. You don't just get a static image. When you open a crate, you get a full-blown animation of the character bursting onto the screen. Even when just clicking them, the presentation is genuinely amazing. The game has a lot of cards: quests, aka missions, daily rewards, leaderboards, and clans. The rest of the stuff in the game is essentially a big Clash Royale reskin. The shop looks the same, the Game Pass looks almost identical, even the Trophy Road follows the same idea of Clash Royales, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. In terms of balance, the game is pretty unbalanced and apparently very pay to win, as the reviews say. The last major update the game had was last year in November, and that's all the players got to hear from it. The game isn't really dead. There are still people playing it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be getting any updates, which is a bit sad considering how well made and polished this game is. If you like Clash Royale and Transformers, hey, go check the game out. It's pretty cool, but as a long-term game, it might not work out. Let me take you back to a simpler time in Clash Royale history, a time before evolutions, before champions, and definitely before level 15. Back then, there was no such thing as the update for losers. The game was cruising along, doing great, arguably sitting at the top of its game in terms of popularity and player satisfaction. But then, of course, boom, Supercell drops the infamous update for losers, and the community, they were fuming. Years of small frustrations suddenly boiled over, and players who had been loyal for ages began to lose their patience. Many decided they had just had enough, and they started looking elsewhere for anything that could scratch that Clash Royale itch. And that's when a little game called Boom Arena started making the rounds. When Supercell later introduced level 15, that quiet trickle of players leaving turned into a much more noticeable wave. Players were desperate for an alternative, and Boom Arena was right there, ready to scoop them up. So let's break this down step by step. First, let's talk about how Boom Arena looks and plays, and then we'll get into why, despite its flaws, some players actually preferred it over the original Clash Royale. When you first boot up Boom Arena, you're greeted not by a king in a crown, but by one of your troops, Steel Hammer, basically Boom Arena's version of the P.E.K.K.A. from what I know. Steel Hammer introduces you to the game and guides you through the tutorial. There's nothing here you haven't seen before. The mechanics are identical to Clash Royale's. 2 lanes, 3 towers, deploy troops, using energy. It's all there. The only difference, it feels like you're playing a knockoff version because, you are. Now, let's talk about the troops. They're funny, but not exactly for the right reasons. Their designs are so bare bones and their voice lines sound like they were recorded by the developer's cousin on a $10 microphone. Not gonna lie. Once you finish the tutorial match, the rest of the game opens up, and this is where the deja vu really kicks in. Boom Arena mirrors Clash Royale's structure almost one-to-one. You've got your card upgrades, the shop, which was added later, leaderboards, clans, everything is in place. The game even has its one wiki page that is structured exactly like Clash Royale's. It's like the developers opened Clash Royale, took some notes, and then tried to recreate it with a fraction of the budget. The only difference on the main menu is that instead of arenas, you're always looking at the same static image of a bomber woman. Okay, bro, you can copy my homework, just don't make it obvious. Anyway, even the game's icon screamed a cheap copy. It looked like it was made in Blender in under an hour. A single character staring blankly, no expression, no energy. And that lifeless design didn't stop at the icon. The troops in-game all shared that same deadpan look, like they've seen things they'll never speak of. Same face, just copy-pasted and recolored. Even some of the sounds were just copy-pasted, like arrow shooting sounds, Mega Knight, and the weird elixir sound you hear when you place down troops, etc. And now, they've upgraded, but not to better art. No. They've gone full AI generation. Troops, card images, even the game icon, it's all AI now. And of course, they all have that weird, angry AI art look. I'll admit, it technically looks better than the original soulless faces, but it's also creepy in a whole new way. Honestly, I'd rather have the goofy, deadpan, there's not a thought behind those eyes originals. So why did players switch to this bootleg? One word: balance. See, from day one, you had every single card unlocked, all of them at the exact same level. No grind, no upgrade walls, just pure, even footing gameplay. There was no pay-to-win strategies involved either. And apparently, that was all it took for Clash Royale players to leave. Which really says something about Supercell, doesn't it? As much as people love Clash Royale's polished visuals, charming characters, and flawless animations, balance is king. Gameplay feel is king. Because no matter how stunning a game looks, 90% of your time is spent actually playing it. And if the gameplay feels unfair, nothing else really matters. A lot of popular Clash Royale YouTubers jumped on this alternative, and their reviews were positive. The consensus, sure, it might not be polished, but at least it's balanced. That was the common refrain. They were pretty pissed off at Supercell's decisions at that time, and I can't blame them. But Boom Arena wasn't perfect, and honestly, it still isn't. The game started to fall off, and you might ask why. Well, here's a couple of answers. It now has ads. Yes, actual ads. I even got a Clash Royale ad after finishing a match. Ironic and pretty hilarious. Remember when I said that you had every single card unlocked? Well, now you have to watch an ad to unlock one card. They now have a shop, and you can pay to remove ads, and you can also pay to win. After like 2 years after dropping, the game hasn't improved in the slightest. Even after some massive monetization of the game, it still looked the same and was just as buggy as before. The only improvement it had was those AI card images. What's even sadder is the reviews. Most of them are 4 to 5 stars, but all of them are bots. You can pause and read them for yourself if you want to. I don't need to tell you that these just aren't real. The last major update they got was exactly a year ago, in August of 2024. Alright, the next game on this list, imagine Clash Royale but set entirely in the Middle East. No, I'm not joking, and meet Tribal Mania. This game actually gained some traction within the Clash Royale community, but here's the catch. It's been taken down from both the App Store and Google Play Store, so I couldn't test it myself firsthand. Sure, I found an APK online, but let's be honest, risking your device for a clone game? No thanks. From what I've seen, Tribal Mania is basically a straight-up Middle Eastern reskin of the original 2016 Clash Royale. They even swapped out the iconic elixir for water, which, hey, is a creative touch, but it's still just elixir under a different name. Once you log in, you're immediately thrown into the training mode, and the tutorial is unusually long. You have to play 7 training matches just to unlock a multiplayer. Now, you might think a tutorial this lengthy means the game has some unique mechanics or something complex to master, right? Nope. Absolutely nothing new here. It's just a painfully long tutorial that feels more like a chore than a learning experience. And good luck finding an online match. From the footage I've watched, no one was able to get a proper match in the game. That's if they ever found one. But yeah, this is all there is to the game. Next up, we are once again blasting off to space for another Clash Royale-inspired game, Arena Galaxy Control. This one's trying hard to stand out with a completely different vibe, but at the core, it is still very much a Clash Royale clone with its own little twists. Right after booting up, you get greeted by a pretty slick animation. A massive robot lands on the arena, all dramatic and cool, and then immediately drops you into the tutorial match. Guiding you through this is an astronaut woman who used to talk with a full voiceover. Apparently players found her voice annoying or distracting, so in my playthrough, she was completely silent. Kinda strange to lose that bit of personality, but I guess the developers decided it was better that way. The arena design is something I really liked. It's original and well crafted, very sci-fi with a clear space theme. Unlike Clash Royale's more medieval fantasy style, here everything feels futuristic and high-tech, which gives the game its own distinct atmosphere. The gameplay itself is pretty much the same as Clash Royale, but the one big unique twist is that you can actually control your King Tower and move it around the battlefield. Not only does this give you some strategic mobility, but it also activates a special shield ability that can turn the tide of a battle if used right. It's a neat little mechanic that actually adds a fresh layer of strategy to a familiar formula. After you win your match, you're taken to what might just be the coolest menu system I think I've ever seen in a mobile game. Instead of a static menu screen, you're inside a spaceship that you can look around fully in 3D. If you turn left, your deck appears on this futuristic holographic display, which feels way more immersive than just scrolling through boring card lists. It's a small detail, but it makes the whole experience feel a lot more polished and unique. Of course, everything else you'd expect is here too. There's a shop where you can buy upgrades and cards, a squad menu, which is basically just clans, an academy for training matches, and leaderboards to track your progress. But the real highlight for me was the hero mechanic. You get this giant robot hero who you can customize by switching out different gear and parts. It's like a mech game built into Clash Royale. Even the trophy road takes a fresh spin. Instead of a flat, boring progression ladder, it's a full 3D space journey, which just fits that whole theme perfectly. All in all, Arena Galaxy Control doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it does a good, solid job of putting a sci-fi twist on the Clash Royale formula. The gameplay is familiar enough to be comfortable, but those little changes, the movable King Tower, the immersive menu, the hero customization, they give it enough personality to stand out just a bit. It's definitely worth a look if you want that Clash Royale feeling, but with a space-age makeover. But once again, as a long-term game, definitely not for me. Next up is Clash of Wizards, where now it's the mages fighting against each other. We're slowly nearing towards the worst ones, and I thought this one deserved a spot on the list because, while yes, it is a reskin of Clash Royale, it has its own unique and decent assets. Oh, and of course, the game has ads. Right when you start, it asks for permission to track your activity, to deliver personalized ads. Wow, nothing like a good old mobile game monetization hitting you up front. But hey, at least, the wizard here isn't just a lazy reskin of the Clash Royale wizard. So, points for that. Like any of these games, it kicks off with your standard tutorial. The gameplay, yeah, it's getting boring, a straight up reskin of Clash Royale. Nothing new under the hood there. The only thing that really caught my eye was the enemy profile display at the top left corner during battles. It shows your opponent's avatar, their name, clan, and trophy count. That's a nice touch. Actually seeing a bit of personality behind the player rather than just a generic tag, it makes you feel like you're actually fighting a person. It turns out the game gives you a variety of avatars to pick from, and you can even customize your color. That's pretty cool for adding a bit of personal flair. Honestly, it would be great if Clash Royale did something like this too, but knowing Supercell, they'd probably just find some way to squeeze a microtransaction out of it. They tend to do that. Once you hit the main menu, you're basically back in 2016, and the whole aesthetic is there, just slapped on with a fresh coat of paint. Everything screams Clash Royale, down to the smallest details. Even the season pass looks identical, and the trophy road, same deal, just a reskinned version of the original. It's like a nostalgia trip for fans of the early days, but without any real innovation. This one comes from the same company behind the infamous Jungle Heat. Yeah, that Clash of Clans knockoff you might have heard of. The developer is called Innovaco, and while I wanted to check out their take on Clash Royale, again, this game wasn't on the App Store anymore. All I found was Jungle Heat itself. Judging by the screenshots and the gameplay I was able to find on the internet, it looks like they took Clash Royale's royal theme and gave it a full military makeover. Instead of kings and princesses, you've got generals commanding the king towers, and regular soldiers manning the princess towers. The one big difference, the troops in the arena are all 2D sprites. No glorious 3D models here. Honestly, the animations gave me major Flash game vibes. It's like stepping back into the early 2000s internet games, and while it does feel good for a few minutes, then it gets boring. Instead of crowns, you collect stars, because, you know, it's a military-themed game. Gotta keep it tactical. The UI feels super basic, like someone took 2016 Clash Royale, stripped it down, and slapped on a camo paint job. The main menu has a shop on the far left, and then the deck menu, the main screen, and instead of clans, you get tournaments, plus an events section. The feature that stood out the most was the global chat, so instead of talking with your clan, you can chat with players from all over the world. Pretty cool for a game that otherwise feels a bit like a blast from the past, although I guess if they took the global chat system from Clash of Clans and put it in here, that also kind of makes sense. And now we are at the worst possible games ever made. Dear God. The moment you open this game, you get a pretty clear idea of the quality. You see these 3 low-poly characters awkwardly floating in the air with the game title slapped underneath, probably made in Canva or something, I don't know. And get this, the music? Yep, that is literally just Clash Royale's theme, just slowed down to a crawl. Classic. Once you finally get into the game, you're greeted by a super low-effort PNG character with a message bubble that tells you how to play. Oh, and here's something funny. The King's voice is exactly the same as the Clash Royale King's laugh. Now, the arena looks nothing like Clash Royale's. There's no rivet across anymore, just a grass board laid out like a chessboard. The towers are there, but the kings, totally different, like they pulled them from some random sketchbook. The music, of course, copy-pasted yet again. And the gameplay, honestly, it's a bit of a mess. The troops' pathfinding is all over the place. They sometimes completely ignore enemy troops and instead run off to fight someone else miles away. It's like watching a badly scripted reality show. After finally making it past that tutorial, the main menu hits you with a 2016 Clash Royale vibe, but heavily modified, and not in a good way. Instead of asking for a username, the game asks you to pick your language first. The options? Russian, Chinese, English, German, and Spanish. The weird part? The tutorial was in English. Anyway, weird. The same low-poly king character keeps babbling on, explaining the game until you can finally click around. The menu has just 3 buttons: train, battle, and bonus. And yep, these are literally just copied from Clash Royale. Even the training arena is a carbon copy. I guess making a custom arena was way over their $10 budget. Even the music is recycled. The chest you get looks like it's just a random PNG ripped from the internet. I actually found almost the exact same image by searching cartoon chest PNG. That is some serious corner cutting. There's no settings menu either, and I'm pretty sure they also used the SpongeBob font for the text. I'm not joking, look at this. There's also ads everywhere, which is no surprise. You will never know when you'll get hit with one just by pushing a button. As for balance, forget about it. It is completely broken. But honestly, I don't really need to explain this one. The gameplay speaks for itself. In short, this game is a total mess. Garbage through and through. And oh boy, I have saved the best or worst for last. The worst ripoff the community has ever seen. Monster Royale. Another spin-off that is basically a mashup of two franchises, Clash Royale and Godzilla vs. King Kong. Yeah, really, but that's only for the menu screens. They don't appear in the game at all. The moment you log in, you're hit with this visual train wreck that is hard to even describe. It's like the developers just discovered 3D graphics yesterday and threw together the first thing they could think of. The game quality, honestly, it's really bad. Writing this, I struggled to find a single good thing to say about it. And get this, when troops attack, the sound effect is basically just a punch noise. No joke, they just grabbed a random punch.mp3 file and slapped it on every single attack. Quality. Visually, the game looks like someone ripped bits and pieces from all over the place and dumped them into one terrible mess. Nothing fits cohesively together. It's like a real Frankenstein's monster situation. But I mean, hey, I will give credit where it's due. There are some original mechanics. The game has a middle tower, so besides destroying the enemy towers, you also have to capture the middle point, which, I mean, is cool, I guess, but it's a big distraction from the main objective, in my opinion. There are different game modes too, like PvE, where you defend against waves of enemies, which could be fun if everything else wasn't so janky and on a $5 budget. Still, the UI and overall design quality are so bad that it's really hard to take the game seriously. I get the frustration. Clash Royale hasn't always handled updates well, and many of us who have played it since 2016 have seen the game shift toward a money-driven, unbalanced experience. But honestly, none of the alternatives out there come close to matching what Clash Royale offers, not even in its prime years. The only real way to push Supercell to fix things is for the community to speak up consistently and loudly. Otherwise, we risk losing what we have entirely. So for now, maybe it's best to appreciate the game as it is and hope our voices bring the change we want. Or we could just make a new game to scare Supercell, but you already know how that's going. If those graphics made your eyes hurt, I mean, same here, but just imagine how the editor feels. But that is why you need to click this next video, where the beauty of Clash Royale's most insane evolution card lore will blow you away. I'll see you there.